Hello, and welcome back. Now, of course, because yesterday I read to you a passage from one of my favorite novels of all time, Jane Eyre, I wanted to tell you how I would use that little essay in chapter 12 to create a writing assignment for my students, especially younger students who would do better with shorter structures. Most people in high school classrooms expect to write the 5-paragraph theme, an introduction, 3-paragraph discussions, and then a closing conclusion paragraph. With the thesis at the end of the first paragraph and topic sentences and supporting arguments. I've taught it, I know it, and it's about as useful as a horse made of Play-Doh. Everybody recognizes it, but nobody in the actual world of writing uses it. However, writers all the time write papers of advocacy, and Charlotte Bronte wrote a very brief essay of advocating for women's rights in chapter 12 of her novel. So I thought, now that's a really good, really short writing assignment, and I think my students can do it. So let's give it a try. Now, if you think back to the paragraph, you'll realize I started it with something where she said she believed there were greater kinds of kindness or goodness in the world. Now, the lead up to that assertion was that she had gotten a job at a place called Thornfield Hall as a governess, and it looked like she was going to be successful. She was excited about that. But it wasn't quite as wonderful as a person might hope. Now, this really was based on Bronte's actual life experience because she was a governess. And much of the book does spring from her life, as most books do spring from their authors' lives. They invent with them, but generally speaking, the truths they encounter in their books come from their lives. So how does Bronte use her little tiny Jane Eyre to make a tiny little assertion about a really big topic? Well, she begins by talking about personal experience. Now, advocating for yourself through personal experience is actually a tried method, and plenty of people have used it. You begin by describing an actual personal experience you've had. Now, it's important to try to stay grounded in fact on this, because some people will use personal experience when they're just making stuff up. Okay? So she starts out by describing this environment that was generally good, but it was too narrow. And in the process of describing her experience, she confesses her feelings. Now, that's really important, because both describing your personal experience, it's yours. People from outside can't say, well, no, that's not legitimate, because it's your experience. You've had it, you know. The other thing is, by describing her personal feelings, she also sort of defies arguers, because you can say to someone, oh, you shouldn't feel that way, but it really won't work, because people will feel the way they feel. They can't help it. It's not something that they necessarily choose to do, although that you could argue sometimes that people choose to express feelings in ways that aren't healthy and to respond to feelings in ways that aren't healthy. But her feelings were genuine, and her feeling was that she was trapped in too narrow an existence. So we go from experience to feeling to examining this through the lens of the universal. She says people must have action, and they will make it if they can't find it. She says people, not I, not women. She says people. That's the universal. People must have action. And by asserting that, she's saying, I think my experience can reveal a reality about the universal. And the reality that she thinks it reveals is that women are like men. Now, that is true. We have much more in common as human beings, men and women, than we have differences. Yes, there are differences, and there's no question that some politicians love to spend lots of time focusing on the differences between men and women. I've noticed this. One of the things that bothers me about this whole discussion of what is a woman, nobody's asking what's a man. What's a man, huh? Define man. Go ahead, define man. I dare you. But no, we must always couch it in the weaker vessel, right? The weaker vessel. So anyway, she says, look, I'll prove to you that we have a lot in common. Men have nipples. Huh? Do they need them? No, but they have them. Why? Because they have more in common with women than they're willing to admit. Okay, I'll stop now. I have brothers and I love them and I think they're wise and good men. As my father was. But anyway, she says in her argument, in her final paragraph, women need to be allowed to explore the world as they seem drawn to do. If they want to do something like pilot planes, you mustn't laugh at them and dismiss them. If they want to do something like work as a welder, you mustn't laugh at them and dismiss them. If that's the endeavor that's calling to them, they should be allowed to pursue that endeavor. That's one heck of a method of making an argument. It's tiny. It's tiny like Charlotte Bronte. It's tiny like Jane Eyre. But it is very, very effective. It's hard to dispute it. She's very carefully and simply drawn a line from her own experience to a universal truth. And what a thing to teach students how to write. Write from your own life and see through it life in the universal. Well, that's it. Give it a try, maybe. Just a 3-paragraph little theme, maybe a letter. It certainly worked for my students, and I loved reading what they had to say. So I hope you have a good rest of the day, and hopefully you'll tune in tomorrow, you gorgeous people.